Hey everyone, happy Super Bowl Sunday. It's February 7th today. I just wanted to make a video to continue the series of the 4 things you should do to stay natural and healthy and give your body the chance to be more lean, if you want to say that. Today I would like to talk about the third rule, which is avoid drugs. Let's start with the definition of a drug. It's any substance that you can consume that will affect your central nervous system. And you can consume it by inhaling it, by injecting it, by eating it. I mean, that's basically, well, you can do a lot of other ways like an enema, but we won't talk about that. Basically, drugs should be avoided because the concentrations of the drugs that we use are just too high. You can't really find those in nature. Let's start off, let's just go through some of them. Let's start off with cocaine. The cocoa leaves that you get cocaine from, you can chew them and get a buzz and whatnot. But when you take a bunch of them and extract the actual cocaine and make into a powder and snort it all at once, you're going to get this rush. And you guys know what cocaine does to you, so I don't need to go too into that. But that's basically the premise. Sugar is also a drug because it affects your central nervous system. And the way that we eat concentrated sugar in this society is one of the main reasons why we're getting fatter and fatter. Our bodies can't handle that high concentration. I mean, you can have anything in moderation, but the way that we eat donuts and cake and ice cream and stuff, that's unnatural. That's not the way that you can find it in nature. You'd have to eat many, many apples and bananas and oranges to get the same amount of sugar that you would get in a cupcake. So basically, those are just some drugs. I know it might not be a popular perception to see sugar as a drug, but it's a very concentrated chemical, and in moderation, it's fine. It's very good for you. Your body uses it. Your brain mainly uses glucose to function, and so you're going to feel sluggish if you don't have any sugar. But our body has an interesting way of storing things. We'll store energy in the form of lipids, which is fat, and then when we use it later, we break it down into sugars because that's what we can use readily. So that's why if you eat a lot of sugar, you'll get a sugar rush because your body will be like, "Oh wow, we've got a lot of sugar. We can like use this right now." Woo! But you're not supposed to have that high. You're going to get a blood sugar spike, and people with diabetes know for sure that can be deadly. You can lose limbs. I had an ex that had a father with diabetes, and he didn't take care of it, and he lost 2 limbs, and then he died. So it's very serious business. If you guys keep eating sugar the way that you do, you're going to end up with health problems, severe health problems, ranging from heart to diseases that you can get from obesity, all kinds of things. But that's not the only drug. What else is there? One that's popular in America is caffeine. Now, caffeine and alcohol, they might not be considered drugs to a lot of people, but they certainly are. The way we consume coffee, for example, I mean, you're taking these coffee beans and you're roasting them and you're grinding them up and you're extracting the coffee flavor and all the caffeine, or most of the caffeine from the coffee beans, into this hot beverage, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can make it into ice cream, you can make it into a shake, you can add milk and make it into a cappuccino and whatnot, or you can just drink it hot or whatever. Most people add sugar to that, which is just wow. But, I mean, everything in moderation. You can have a cup of coffee every now and then. But if you're dependent on coffee, if you don't get your morning coffee and you're like, and you just can't handle it, that's bad. You should wean yourself off of it. You shouldn't be exposing your body to that type of concentration of this drug. Lots of people drink 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day. That's too much caffeine. And it's clear. People pull high energy drinks off the shelves because people are dying from the heart attacks. It's just too much, and you shouldn't expose yourself to a range of caffeine that could possibly hurt you in the long run. You shouldn't be dependent on anything. You should be able to just go anywhere. Wake up on a Saturday without having your cup of coffee and just go as normal. You might not be getting enough sleep if you're needing to have coffee every single day, and if you don't have it on some days, you just stay in bed all day. That's not something that is a good thing. You should know that and realize that and avoid that. Alcohol is another one. Alcohol is basically the waste product of yeast. So yeast will go in and eat the sugars and digest them and poop out alcohol and carbon dioxide. So the way that we make it is there's different types of ways to make it and concentrate it. In beer, the concentration is not too high, but then you're still dealing with high concentrations of wheat. You guys know what alcohol does. It's one of the most abused drugs in America, at least. And you shouldn't be having very many drinks. Some people only drink on the weekends or once in a blue moon. But when you're exposing your body to that, it's just not good. And studies will tell you, I mean, there's liver damage, there's brain damage even. Just everything in moderation. But, I mean, if you want to live naturally, you should avoid drugs. I mean, alcohol was an important part of our evolution. Not a lot of people know this, but humans, as we were developing, were able to survive because we are special. The great apes have an ability to consume and digest ethanol, which is amazing because animals in other species don't consume ethanol the way that we do. They're unable to digest it the way that we can. And that really helped us being able to use to consume fruit that had been spoiled by yeast and just on the ground. Like other animals couldn't eat it, but we could, and that was very useful. And in ancient times, there was some problem where the water source was contaminated, and the water was being sterilized in the process of making beer, which ended up saving a lot of people. The people who drink beer survived, but the people who were drinking the water that was toxic ended up dying. So it has saved us. I mean, there's lots of things that that can help move things along, but in the long run aren't that good for you. There's just so many deaths due to drunk driving, and it's unnecessary. It's a drug that's abused far too much. There are alternatives to that to have a good time. All kinds of things. There's been talk of legalizing marijuana, for example, but I don't really condone the way that it's consumed. Tobacco and marijuana are usually lit on fire and smoked. You inhale the smoke that comes off of it, and then your lungs absorb either the nicotine or the THC, and then you get the effects. This is a way too concentrated effect. You should be not consuming that much of that. You shouldn't be smoking at all. Our lungs aren't for that. We're not supposed to be inhaling smoke. We need fresh, clean air. You should be avoiding pollution as well, as much as possible. But if you must consume marijuana, then use it as a spice. Put it in your cooking. I mean, like that'll be better than damaging your lungs if you must have it. There's just so many drugs that you need to avoid. I might make another video I want to talk about acetaminophen and ibuprofen, and just there's so many drugs that that people abuse. I mean, when you have a headache, your body's telling you something. It's telling you that something's wrong, and if you cover it up and ignore it, then you're defeating the purpose. Our bodies are amazing, and that's a common theme that I want to stress, because we've come so far, and our bodies are able to adapt so well to almost anything. That's how we've survived so long, and we're at the top now. But the way that we're using drugs these days is just not good. It just needs to be reduced drastically. If you want to mimic the way that we were living long ago, which would make it very good for you, because your body would be then exposed to the most natural conditions in which we grew up with as a species. And that, in turn, will make you basically better at life, because you've got the nutrients and the resources that you need to perform at your tip-top shape. Your body's going to be in a better condition, and your mind, in turn, will also be in a better condition. I'm going to wrap that up right now because it's getting kind of long, but I will continue this maybe later on or tomorrow or something. All right, bye-bye.